Okay, I'm going to show you how I make a snake necklace. I'm going to try to make a rainbow snake color. Not really realistic, more fantasy, but it'll be neat. You can show you all the different ways the mica powders and such react on dark clay and, well, a little bit on the white, mostly on the dark clay. It's what really makes it pop anyway. So anyway, I have two more or less the same, it doesn't really matter, sized lumps. My top color, my belly color. You can mix it up and match however you like. I like doing this. Eventually, if people are interested, I can do stripy snakes and maybe I'll try dragons again. But first, we have our two lumps. You want to compress them good so there's not air bubbles, they're nice and cohesive. But they don't really have to be the same size exactly because they're going to get cut. So we'll just start with the black and roll it out. And then we'll get to see how well I compressed my clay, which may not be very good. Alright, so I think that'll be, yeah, there's a little bubble. This is going to be my head. I think that's a good size, good shape. Oh wait, crap. No, we don't want to do that yet. Okay. Press any bubbles. And you can see why I said, don't worry, you're going to handle it a lot, so extra texture is probably for the best. Or heavy, because it's going to get touched. I'm trying to stay out of the white right now. Okay, so what do you think? Pretty smooth transition, right? If it isn't, don't leave that in the comments. Just say it looks great. Thanks. Ah, crap. I actually have a hard time doing it the reverse, but usually one side looks slightly better than the other, but there's no real logic as to which one it is, at least to me. But I mostly do tiny fish, so it's really easy to screw up. The snake being bigger, it allows a little more leniency, flexibility, and forgiveness. If the fish screw up, they get smashed and turned into snakes. Pretty good. There was something I was going to do texture-wise, but I can't remember what. Actually, let's try the underbelly. We'll work our way down. Usually I do one thing at a time, but well, maybe we'll do a little snake texture. Screw it. We're already there. Not gonna go too crazy. Just a little. Oops, that was bad. Don't do that. Okay, that's better. Okay. This is ribbon blade. So I'm going to cut in, then I go left and right, and that should give you a nice scale. Because again, they're not usually really round. They're more like snakes are more like rectangles that have rounded edges. Yeah, I cannot keep my clay clean, I'm sorry. Not my strength. And you want to try to get it all the way in the white and not broach the black. but you want that initial push to have that nice, and see, like you can see the things are separating. You want to smooth those out when you actually cook it. You don't want it to get caught. This is the other reason why it's important to keep your white centered. It's a little bit off on the lighter bits. But we'll work that into it as we do the curls, so it shouldn't be noticeable. I mean, I wouldn't try selling this to the Smithsonian for their snake display. But for a necklace, it's fine. Yeah, see, it's coming undone. Oh, shoot. Okay, Mr. Snake is done on that part. Back down the middle. I trim off, you don't have to, but I trim off top so it helps me orient how deep I'm going on the scale. I find it useful. You don't have to do it. It's not groundbreakingly mandatory. I do recommend having a collection of straws. I collect them because they all have different sizes, flexibilities, hardness. Like this one's very soft, very thin. Alright, I'm going to pause this and just keep doing the same. More the same, just do the same thing. I'm going to start the fun part, which is coloring. So I'm going to do the belly first because it's mostly going to sit on its belly. And this will lessen the holding. So this is a copper. I like to do, just kind of tuck in under the scale. Just give it a little more exciting definition. When I'm doing detail work, I'll use the brush, but if I just want to hit high points, I usually use my finger. I find it distributes a little better that way. This is really pretty copper. It's copper, but it's got little flecks of like pink in it, and which is not typical for a snake, but that's fine. It's a pretty snake. And again, it's jewelry. You should always be more willing to, yeah, I did an oopsie there. Oops. Anyway, with jewelry, you should always be more willing to make it interesting and beautiful rather than necessarily accurate. Because jewelry's meant to enhance rather than be a realistic nature display. Okay. So close that up. Bloop. All right, I'm using one called Galaxy. And it's extremely sparkly and pretty white since I plan on using so many colors and trying to get something fairly neutral with the belly, because it's going to be busy. Do some on the chin. Make it a little more interesting. The only reason I really actually spend this much time on the belly is because of the twisting effect I like to do. If you don't do that, you can just skip all this part. I mean, it's good practice. It's not a bad thing to do, so you can get used to that and or just improve your general skills. Because unfortunately, the only way you ever really get better is to fail a whole bunch until you stop failing. And if you're lucky, your failures will look cool and you can still sell them. One of my favorite paintings that I ever did, actually technically it was a print on plexiglass, but I digress. My favorite one, it was a huge failure, but it looked really neat. It was very unexpected, so I liked the way it looked, and I kept it. So you can see, yeah, I made some oopsies there. But in general, it smooths it out, gives it some depth. We'll see how it goes. All right, Mr. Snake. So, like I said, I'm going to try the rainbow. We'll see how, if I do all the colors. I actually don't usually like doing rainbows just because in real light they're beautiful, but in practice, usually the colors get a little too busy, in my opinion. So I might just reduce it down to like red, green, and purple. We'll see. But I've decided I'll do the head in red, because why not? Okay, so you can see it goes on really evenly. My finger. And if I use the brush, it might go into the cracks, which is not bad, but it's not what I really want. I want, this is the same as dry brushing. If you're familiar with dry brushing, it's the same concept. I want to bring out all of his detail, and if you go into the cracks, you're going to lose his detail. And you spent all that time doing that. What's the point if you're just going to lose it? So, that's nice. I actually have a slightly darker red. I'm going to roll him over on the side to give him a little bit of darkness on his cheekbones. When I'm doing more realistic snakes, sort of, sorry, this is a slightly darker red, more purple in it, and I'll actually do some shading with it, since this is so many different colors and I don't necessarily have a slightly darker, oh see, I got too much in there and it's gone into the crack. It's not bad, but it's not perfect. Let's see. Okay, so I think red's fine for now. I've got a lot of space left on the snake, so. Alright, I just rub my hands on my palms to clean it out. You can get like baby wipes or something if you want, but we're blending it, so a little bit on your finger isn't the worst thing. It'll help it blend. All right. So now we're into orange, and you can do this with pastels too. But the thing is, I have too much on my finger. Different colors have different working capabilities and opacities and all that stuff, so you don't always get the exact same results, especially since I'm using eyeshadow and each one's a little bit different for the intended goal. I mean, there's some orange, but it's not super orange. It's not as strong as that red. It's okay. Not crazy bad, but let's see. So I have this yellow. It's a different brand. It's not bad. It's hard to find a good yellow. Yellow is probably one of the hardest colors as far as just, if it's not right, it looks sickly. And but this is a pretty good yellow. Gone pretty far, but all right. I actually have two really nice greens, and I wasn't sure which one I liked to do, so I'll probably do them both. And this is a peacock green. It's really lovely. You can see the nice coverage. Yeah, some of these are more iridescent than others, but I wouldn't say it's just a result of the makeup. All of them are unique. And if you do pastels, like chalk pastels, if you use those in a more traditional sense, red is almost always much more physically harder. Not just hard to use, but I mean it's like a rock compared to something like the blues, usually, which are very, very soft, and that just has to do with the chemical makeup. Okay, I went a little overboard on light green, so we're going to switch to the dark green. I forget what this one's called, but it's darker, as you can clearly see. But I don't want to do... Okay, do that on the sides. Maybe it'll... Because I actually do that. We'll come through and try a little gradient. Try a little more on the top. You can't really tell, but whatever. It's there. So, Roy, red, orange, yellow, green, G, blue, indigo. I don't think I really have a violet, so we're just going to say it's not. Okay. So this is a nice blue. Alright. So you can see the nice. You should also not go back and forth. If you have really directional texture, you should just keep going one way. So it will hit the high points. If you go backwards, you run into the chance of it going into the scale pattern. Thus, it makes it harder to see the scale pattern that you put all that effort into. Okay. And finally, and I don't mind doing this a little bit longer just because it's getting narrower. And it's going to be pretty narrow on the actual tippy tail. The black really picks up reds, purples. It really just results in an amazing effect. I do a lot of like dark raveny feathers with just blues and purples. And that looks pretty good. Wood. All right. I think I'll do a little bit of gold down the back. It'll reinforce, especially when I twist it, it'll really reinforce the outline of the spine. So there's this stuff. It's exceptionally fine, but it's all right. I like it and I don't like it. It goes on nice and thick, but it doesn't really stay that well. Okay, see that's interesting. It's giving it a nice strong line. See how that follows that? Yeah, it's nice. But if you're going to use it, you really need to seal it in because it is not obedient. So that's nice. So I have my little gem. Clean the crap off the back. I really like opals. You know, a really good gem. Oh, this is an opal. It's just glass. But I think they're a really pretty stone. Not good for everyday wear because they're a little soft. Alright, I gotta stop doing this or else I'll just try to make it perfect. Okay, so since I've already got gold, I will put some more gold in it. First I'm going to squeeze it in even deeper. And then I'm going to roll out a snake. Try to make it even. Snake. Let's see. How's that looking? That's pretty good. You really want to get it in there. But I don't know. See if you just stick it in there. I don't know. I don't think it looks as good. But I'm going to give it a nice little holder. Again, this is embedding a gem in the head of the snake is not recommended if you want the realistic look. Unless you do horrible things to snakes, which I don't recommend. Alright, so that's in there. Give that a little bit of a push down. And like I was saying about the tail work, again, I don't like these, but it's the only really, actually no, this brand's okay. It's the other one I don't really like. So I'm going to put a little bit of copper, give it a little bit of definition on the inside. Then we'll get our gold back, because we've already got gold throughout the whole thing, so it will look pretty cool, probably. And if not, you just dig it out and do it again. And I could just rub it on, but I want it to be mostly on the actual amulet, not on the surrounding snake head. And the little gem in the center is glass, so this stuff won't stick to it at all. And it's already got a lot on here, so it probably won't stick. When it's baked, you can just brush it off, rinse it off, whatever you like to do. Alright. It's a little bit darker. Maybe I'll give it a little something to make it pop. A little more gold. Let's see. Give them a little bit of eyebrows. Let's just do my fingers. It'll help direct your gaze. Make it a little. When you do three-dimensional things, you really want to bring out the dimension. So I'm just picking up just a little bit to give them a little more oomph. If you like the results, do it. If not, don't do it. Counterintuitively, you actually do have to add depth on something with high depth. It does helps it read better. Helps our minds grasp it. Okay. So I think that's pretty good. Move all your colors out of the way. Or down, whatever. Okay, so I made some little hooks, eye hooks. They're just standard. You can get pre-made ones. These ones are sort of pre-made that I altered. It's up to you. Oh yeah, it got messy. But I'm gonna just stick them in. Ah, shoot. much luck getting these things in nicely. There's people who actually know how to do it nicely. Watch their videos. I'm sure they have an excellent way of doing it that I don't know about. Yeah, that's not the best. Don't do that. But you do want to get it in there, and you do want to have a decent hook in there to help it set and not wiggle free, because it definitely can and it definitely will. Feels like surgery. Bad illegal surgery. Okay. Should probably clean this if you really want to keep your colors perfect. Okay. So the whole point of all that bottom scale part is, if you want, when you're arranging your snake, that you could flip over and show off part of the belly. And it helps if you do a longer snake. This one's kind of thick. And it's really one of the most interesting parts about the snake is it's got this really nice, deep, complex scale pattern on the top with a very simplistic, smooth, and simple. Or, well, color-wise, they're usually very plain. It's usually white compared to the top, which has all sorts of crazy colors. So, and the hooks are going to be probably having it hang like this. So try to keep in mind where you placed your hooks, your eyelets, because it will affect the position of the snake. And I'm trying to get this really curled in and really protected. If this was metal, you could have it out, but even then, you know, it catches on people. You don't want that. And see, even though the purple part was longer, it does get lost in the being transformed with the curl. You actually lose a lot of it. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't mind having a lot on the end. I'm pretty sure, depending on how I did it, some of it would be lost. And again, some of the gold is gone. I usually never plan out how I plan to curl them. It's just a result of however I think it looks. If it looks good, if it looks bad. I like to do snakes because they're usually allow me more creativity than a lot of the other projects I do. So pretty good. And I could have done better, but it's true, most things. You learn. And actually, I wonder if I can add a little more scales right there, because it looks a little empty. And one of the other things, like I was saying earlier, is you can really alter the depth when you're using the straws, which you can't really do with a specific scale tool. And it's a little smooth, so I'm going to drag my little texture tool, get a little more matching. And voila. I'll cook it, and then I'll put some well, let's see. Because things have, they'll equalize, so it's probably going to hang more or less like that. Yeah, let's see if we can get a little more interesting. Okay, I think I like that a little better. Maybe you can tighten it up a little. The head is kind of big, but I don't mind. It's easier for you to see it when I'm working on it. Okay, I'm gonna bake it and see how it turns out. Shoot. Okay, he's all baked. This is the satin finish. You can, well, if you can find it, you can do the glossy kind. I probably prefer the satiny one. So I'm just brushing a little, getting any extra off. You don't have to do this, but if you intend on wearing it, it's probably for the best. It does damp down on the super high sparkle, but it does give it a more even coat. And with some of these, some of them stick pretty well, like usually because of the fineness, I guess, of the makeup, it stays pretty well, but this really super shiny gold, it comes off really easily, which is a shame because it's really neat. You can do multiple coats if you like. Oh shoot, I should have showed you the underside, but there you go. I'm gonna do the underside, but I won't videotape it. It's the same process. I'm sure you can figure it out on your own. If not, just paint it. There you go. Process complete. I don't mind it getting into the cracks since it dries pretty clear and evenly. And I don't super load it up, but I'm gonna let it get in there some. And when it's done, I will take a picture of it hanging so you can kind of get an idea, and that'll be the picture at the beginning. Okay. So if you have any questions, if you want me to try something else, if you have suggestions, otherwise I'm just going to keep making stuff that amuses me. But if you prefer I tried something that you were actually interested in, let me know. Like and subscribe, as everyone says. And I will keep doing them, though I'll probably do it anyway just for my own amusement. Bye.